Starting the YouTube. We're here on College Football 27, guys. We're going to be picking our Dynasty team of much consideration. Actually, realistically, I've actually flipped the original team that I was going to do because once I was able to get a little insight on like how the game, a little bit like at least how the roster is, I decided to make a last second change in the last few days on our Dynasty team. We're not doing Minnesota. This is just, my favorite team. So this is the team that's sponsored on. Minnesota. It's got 3,200, a little over 3,200 in available Dynasty points. The difficulty ain't too bad. You're in the Big Ten. You got some good, players and recruits. You got a solid quarterback that's a sophomore. And you got 7 natties. But we're not going Minnesota. That's too easy of a time. I'll probably do that, offline or, something casual, but we're going back home, guys, though. We are going back home in a way. We are going to be taking the job at a school very close to my heart. And if you know me, I love me some ULM, Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Claws up. We only have 35 Dynasty points. Oh my God. This is going to be something. They have one conference championship in their entire existence. They have 7 draft picks. They have 1 bowl game. And they lost that bowl game. They have a losing record. And their pipelines aren't that good. That's some of the reason why I want to. So this is what made me switch at the last second. I was going to do Jackson State. Is it Jackson State or Jacksonville State? The Gamecocks. But it was like, I gotta go to Louisiana. 1, we are going to be one of the lowest rated teams in the entire game. I knew they weren't going to have that big of an NIL budget. That's 2. Their pipelines, I didn't realize this until somebody brought it up, like going in and look at it. We have good potential pipelines. We have East Texas, North Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, I think Mississippi. Like we have some good, pipelines. But we're not the best in any of those pipelines. We're very low tier in all those, pipelines. And we are the bottom of the barrel in our own state. So even getting in-state talent, we're beat out by all 4. There's 5 Louisiana schools. All 4 of the Louisiana, Tulane, Louisiana Tech, and LSU. All going to beat us. So we're the last pick with prospects in our own state. That doesn't even count that I think it is TCU, Alabama, Georgia, I think Clemson, Florida, like a bunch of schools have higher pipelines even than us. Then there's even other better schools in our tier of pipeline and 2. So it's like we have so much stuff to do here. We have uncertainty at quarterback and a whole list of things we gotta come together. Now, what is one thing like real life interesting about coming back to ULM is in real life, their new AD that they got this year is pretty famous. You might know him. You may know his adopted brother a little bit more. But the little kid from The Blind Side, the actual, it's based off the true story. Like Michael Orrs was adopted by this family, blah, blah, blah. Their whole legal situation is more about the rights and selling his life story and stuff and how they portrayed him and stuff like that. That was more the legal stuff of it. But like his little brother, I forgot, AJ, something like that. He actually, got into, sports, and he was a, I won't say a coach, but he was like a staff member. He moved up the ranks. I think he was at Kent State or Akron for a little bit, and he's kind of moved around, FAU stuff like that. So he's helped kind of, and then he ended up taking the athletic director job at ULM. So he's in charge of the whole athletic department at our school. So we'll be working with him to bring some pedigree to the team, right? Now, if you remember, anybody else was around, we did do this series um, back in 25 when it first came out. But the team actually had a little bit more, you know, oomph to it. You had an 87 overall starting quarterback with General Booty. So you had like a really solid quarterback to start off, your dynasty in the Sun Belt fire. You had a good O lineman. I think it was Elijah Fisher. So you had a solid O lineman to build out interior O lineman. You had Amon Hardy, who after his 1 year with ULM, literally he even told them like, "Hey, that's what was shocking. Like he was like a 4-star running back. Like he was pretty up there in like running back recruits. He came in and said, "Hey, I'm coming here for playing time for 1 year, prove what I could do, and I'm transferring out." Cool. He was here, so you had a solid running back to start off your dynasty before, in real life, he ended up going to Missouri. And now he's looking like he's going to be a first, maybe second round running back in next year's draft. But it's projected, you know, draft season comes around, people start poking holes in their game. They drop to like third, fourth round. But anyway, so we're going to have a uphill battle here. We're a 0-star school. We're 3-9. What was also like what really showed it was in real life, the team ended up going like I think they went 6-7 in 2025, well 2024, 2025 season with General Booty and stuff like that because they actually had a decent little roster. So that was I think one of their most successful seasons they've had ever or like in a long time. So going back to a ULM to you know build out this program, and hopefully we can leave our stamp here in Louisiana and kind of move up the ranks a little bit. Here to talk to you guys post-com about some of our dynasty plans right here. Some of the stuff that we kind of got to know a little bit now that we've kind of gotten into the dynasty. But our dynasty budget, I'm gonna have to come in here. I gotta move some stuff around. We gotta nail some stuff down because I'm gonna be honest, they need to investigate this program I'm coming into. Because if you didn't notice at the beginning, looking at our dynasty budget, which I knew we weren't gonna have a lot coming in, we're one of the bottom schools in the entire game. But we have 35 available points. So when it comes to recruits, we have a very thin, very paper thin, ice thin line on being able to spend anything on recruits. We can't bring any 3 stars because they're asking for more dynasty points than we can afford to even give them. Even if they were interested, we can't even pay you to come here. And we can barely get like good 2 stars, really. So it's a very thin budget. Number one thing of not even just earning the points, but we have to free up points because whoever was managing the NIL budget here, man, they're stuffing their pockets right now because over half of our dynasty points are tied up into our staff. Our staff is making more money than the actual players on our team on the field. To me, this is completely backwards. Hey, when we start getting some NIL and we start getting some money coming in, I'm a feed my staff. But right now, we're the bottom team in the conference in the nation right now. There should be no reason why over a half of our dynasty points are tied up into our staff that isn't that good. So we gotta move some things around and get some NIL budgets going into our players. Um, as we're trying to, build a roster here and bring some pieces in, you know, I'm not afraid to open the checkbook and start spend some NIL money, but we got to get some NIL money to spend some NIL money. Right now when it comes to recruiting, I've been just trying to nail the board and just fill in our gaps. We luckily coming in low NIL budget, we don't need a lot of roster turnover. We got a relatively young wide receiver room. We got a young quarterback room. We got corners. We got a lot of key guys. We just gotta really fill out our D line, our linebackers, our tackles, our safeties, as you see on the screen. So that's the number one thing. And then it's like, hopefully by the end of the year, hopefully I'm trying to nail the recruits here. And everything else on the roster, like getting better players coming in, I want to use the portal for that because hopefully we can gain some more dynasty points throughout the season and fluctuate the budget around a little bit and hopefully can get some more dynasty points in our favor so we can upgrade our facilities, we can do this, do that, and bring in more talent. Because like I said, we have a very young team, so I'm hopefully we can develop a lot of these guys to close that gap in the process, but also we got to generate some money here, guys. This is a rough team, and you guys will see through some of our games that it gets rough for us. We're on the cuffs of gaining our momentum and figuring things out, but it's a process, guys. It's a process. All right, guys. This is our quick rundown of our first couple games to start off the season here in ULM. I think this is the hardest team we played. Here is Mississippi State on our schedule, on paper at least. This is a low end, SEC school, but it's still an SEC school. Their backups are probably better than most of our starters right now. So, building up the courage to, next year, definitely going to try to schedule a little bit harder opponents just because we got to show, we can do something. Hopefully, we can be a thorn in a couple team sides for the future once we start building up a team. I think this year for Dynasty, it's hard. I won't admit. I'm looking at it, I'm playing through it. It is difficult this year. You're not going to be able to go year one, year two, go out and get a couple three, good 3 stars. So maybe you slip in a 4 star in there and, quickly get some talent. We don't have NIL to go get guys. We don't have good pipelines to go get guys. We're not that great of a team interest wise. We're not immediately on anybody's boards. So it'll be hard to kind of get some guys to come in here and bring their talent, right? Um, so building up the courage to start, balling out and bring consistency to the team. I feel like our biggest weaknesses, gotta be upfront about it. On the defensive end, we got to get good secondary. Our pass rush and our secondary needs to get better, but I feel like pass rush is good enough that if we get better secondary, we can cause a couple more disruptions. We get a couple, hopefully, picks and just short yardage games. We got too many times where coverage are blowing, guys are left open, or guys just completely burn us. So getting better secondary is the key. We're already bringing the new linebackers, with our recruiting class, so I'm not too worried about that. But if we can get a good secondary and then start aiming for our pass rush, we'll be solid. On the offensive end, I feel like our biggest weakness going forward is our quarterback play. And a little sneak peek to the future, we do eventually make a change at quarterback. We go with one of our redshirt freshmen who is a worse passer, less, accuracy, less throw power, but he's a more dynamic runner and, scrambler. So it brings a little more depth to our offense. He's a true athlete that can go out there and ball, right? So we do make that change at quarterback. But with that being said, we got to bring in a guy that can get the ball to our wide receivers. We don't have the best wide receivers. We don't have the best old line. I think our running backs are pretty solid for the way we use them, but they could be better too. A little more speed into them will go a long way. Anyway, with the way our true freshman quarterback, when he starts seeing, you guys are gonna see it. He's a very dynamic, quarterback. If we can develop him, since he's a redshirt freshman, he could be our development quarterback. And if we can get some NIL money and hopefully generate some type of interest to go after one of these, you know, backup quarterbacks at a big university, that's a junior, senior, that they want those starts. Hey, bring him in and have him be the guy here. We have a young quarterback to develop behind him. Bring in a guy that's ready to go rip it right now. All I'm saying is, hey, if you're a quarterback, starting quarterback that you want a little more oomph of a challenge, or you're a backup quarterback, hey, you want playing time. Hey, you can come down here. Hopefully, we can generate some NIL money for you and give you the bag, and you can come out and ball down here. Because I think we have good wide receivers that we can develop for the future. I think we have a solid running back room that we can develop for the future. And we can bring in a good fluctuation of O linemen coming in that just big bodies, block you up. I feel like would be solid. Because looking at our offensive playbook, we have a lot of plays that, even on defensive end, we have a lot of plays that we can get into, but they don't execute to the best of their abilities because we don't have players that play up to par. We get wide receivers and cause some separation. Some of these plays and routes are fantastic. We're going to be running teams. And, I favored some of them just to kind of keep them in the game plan. We need some plays to get into this, that, the other. We'll get into it once we get better players. I think something you're going to see over the next couple of game plays that we have and clips and stuff is how often we blow leads. I think every game every game so far, besides this first game against Mississippi, that we either had a lead or we had a puncher's chance at getting the lead and we blow it. We have a tendency to blow leads. And that hurts because that puts us behind the 8 ball in so many games. And especially the first couple of games of the season, we tend to end up getting the ball to start the game. So we end up kicking the ball to them in the second half. And they just got momentum off of it. And they scored. So that's the number one thing of gaining early momentum and not losing it and not beating ourselves. And hopefully getting the luck of the draw when it comes to, the coin toss and getting the ball in the second half. So we control the pace, we control the momentum, we keep, building off of stuff. There's a lot of games that we were right there, and if we could just punch over, we're beating teams. We're solidly beating teams. But if anybody watched our, ULM streams in 25, you remember our first year, same thing. We used a lot of games that we were very close, and we had to eventually, we lost a lot. We lost, I think, back in 25, I think we only won 3-4 games. But year two, we bounced back and we had a winning record. We went 6-7, and we made it to a bowl game and we lost. But we made it there. We got the taste. We got the taste, a little taste of success. And hopefully we can keep building on top of our success. Now, as we wrap it up here, we do go into overtime because we blow our lead late in the game, and we do not convert on fourth down. They end up getting the ball back, running the ball a couple times, kicking a field goal, and beating us. I just want to say the next videos are going to be really more impact and exciting, guys. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.